Well, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday to you. Mark Farzetti here with the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Just wonderful to have you along for the ride. I don't want to bury the lead here, so I just want to tell you exactly what's going through my mind. I got to use a table saw yesterday, building some floating shelves for our living room, and oh my goodness gracious, I've never used a table saw before. Just so everyone sees it, all my fingers still attached. It was a good time. It was a very manly moment for me. It was pretty nice. Also, latest on Shohei Ohtani. The Phillies and the Flyers are, or I should say Comcast Spectacor, are now they're planning, they have planned to make over the entire sports complex in South Philadelphia. You guys have known that I am in on the Sixers having a downtown arena. If, and it's a huge if, the city is ready for it, meaning crime, violence, public transportation, crime, violence happening on public transportation. If the city can be ready for it, then I would love a downtown stadium. One of the things that would deter me from having a downtown stadium in terms of maybe there's a better idea is developing the sports complex area in South Philadelphia. We'll show you the proposal from the Flyers and the Phillies because the Phillies are getting on board. And if all goes right, phase one of the makeover could happen or could be done by 2028. So we'll show you a rendering of that, what it would look like when it was all done. And I don't know what it is. Everything, and it literally is from the future, but I mean like from 100 years in the future. Why is it that every single rendering or sketch or whatever of a proposal for development always looks like something out of the Jetsons? Now, hold on a second. I realize that the Jetsons are an old reference, but I think most people understand what the heck that means. All right? So we'll show you the rendering of that. The Eagles get yet another possible target for Jalen Hurts. Now, you say, why possible? Because Parris Campbell hasn't exactly impressed in his NFL career. A couple years with the Colts, was there with Nick Sirianni. I know a lot has been made of this picture of the Eagles walking off the field. I think it was this past preseason, or no, it was 2 preseasons ago, with Nick Sirianni and Parris Campbell dabbing it up there as they walk off the field. Dom DeSandro there in the background. I know a lot of you noticed already. This signing to me is very similar to the Tyler Hall signing. Okay, we'll see if he makes the team. That's kind of how it is. There are a couple of different phases. I mean, you caught me on with our friend Bill Colarulo yesterday on Philly Sports Power Hour. Then you heard me say this already, but I think most people are similar to this when I go through free agency. When they go through free agency, I think they have very similar reactions. The one we can kind of rule out with Howie because there's really not many moves with Howie Roseman that we go, you spend that money on this guy? You know, it's not really something that we do with Howie. The one thing people will go back to, other than, 2011 and Dream Team. Other than that, people go to DeMarco Murray. But I need to remind people, more often than I thought, that was a Chip Kelly deal that was not a Howie Roseman deal. So the 3 things I really do, other than, oh my God, they spend this on this player, like Devin White was a similar example that I wanted to see the details of the contract. That's what I said on the Friday show. $7.5 million seems like a lot. I'm not so keen on that, and it turned out to be more along the lines of 3.5, and I'm more keen on that. But when it comes to the general 3 phases or the general 3 reactions I have to free agency, it's, oh my God, this is amazing. And that was pretty much my reaction to Saquon Barkley. Now, it took me a minute to get there because I still thought, even though the report was out there from Schefter and Ian Rappaport and everybody, I still looked at it and went, no way. This is the wrong account. Shefty, oh, it is Shefty. Shefty got hacked, But I was amazed. That's thrilling. And then I go, oh, that's a good pickup. And then my last one is camp body. And Parris Campbell, to me, could very much be a camp body. And I know some people are excited about it. I know some people will go back and they'll look at the combine numbers, the pre-draft workouts and all that stuff, and they'll look at a 4.31 40. That's good. That is really good. Some people still brag about, like a 4.4 40, and that's still good. But a 4.31 is pretty damn good. And that's what he ran coming out of Ohio State when he was coming into the NFL. And I would love to still have that guy. Now, after some injuries, when he was with the Giants, he had with the Colts in 2022, he had an MCL tear. So he was put on IR. He was put on IR the following season as well. Did not really pick it up with the Giants last year through 12 games. This is a roll of the dice. See what we get kind of deal. Tyler Hall is a roll of the dice. See what we get kind of deal. Devontae Parker coming here, I have more confidence in him making the team than I do Parris Campbell. Now, you might say that Parris Campbell is a coach darling considering the history that he and Nick Sirianni have together. And that might be the case, but if you can't play, you're not going to make the team. If he's injured, he's not going to make the team, obviously. And if they have somebody else that ends up showing why they could be that number 3 wide receiver behind 2 stud wide receivers, then obviously that other person's going to make the team. For me, I just think it's okay, right now, not excited about it. Can't body. It's a good dice roll is the nicest thing I could say about it. It's another low risk, high reward type of thing. If he can finally put it together here in Philadelphia, then he can help your offense obviously win football games. But my reaction to seeing it come across yesterday was, all right, man. And then I saw some people excited about it. I was like, I'm not. Good for you. Good for you that you're excited about it. I am not excited about it. I also received some BS. I will call it BS on the old social media yesterday because Bill had asked me about what I need to see from Howie Roseman. What's the next move of all the moves? What's the next move you want to see? And I got to say, as we broke it down yesterday, and I'm not going to get fully into it this morning, but we know that the offense is pretty damn set. Okay, yes. Do you need another wide receiver? Sure, but now you have Devontae Parker, and at least you have Parris Campbell, and maybe they could battle it out for a third wide receiver spot. Maybe that wide receiver is in the draft somewhere, right? But when it comes to the defense, there are many more question marks on the defense. But if I'm looking for that last wow me Howie move, it would be a corner that can go get that football. It would be a defensive back that can go get that football. And I like Reed Blankenship. Don't get me wrong. I like Reed Blankenship. But we all know that you need depth at every single position. Justin Simmons still being available would definitely be a Howie wow me move. If you go get Justin Simmons, who, by the way, is the only NFL player right now that has, I believe it's 8 consecutive seasons with at least 2 interceptions. So he's the only one to have multiple interceptions in 8 consecutive seasons. That's pretty good. That sounds like some consistency. Familiar with Vic Fangio and Vic Fangio's scheme, what Vic Fangio wants to do. I'll go back to the phrase again in terms of understands the freedom. That means to me that you would have CJ GJ, CD Deuce, and you would have Justin Simmons as 2 safeties that very much understand the freedom that Vic Fangio's scheme can allow you and what you could do with that freedom in Vic Fangio's scheme. I would love to see Justin Simmons in an Eagles uniform in the secondary, last man on the field with CJ GJ. That, to me, that would get me excited. That would get me ready to go, especially after last season where the Eagles had kind of rolled the dice. Similarly, the Eagles treated the safety position last year exactly the same as they treated the linebacker position. The only difference is they had already added safeties that were kind of dice roll safeties well before training camp, well before the preseason, and, of course, well before the season started. They had rolled the dice on Justin Evans. They'd rolled the dice on Terrell Edmonds. They'd seen, all right, let's see what these guys can do. Oh, not much? Oh, what do you know? They kind of said, oh, well, after Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, we can just put somebody else in there. We got confidence in Reed Blankenship. We got Sidney Brown. Hopefully he'll develop. And they just said, oh, this is kind of like that. Just like they did with Zach Cunningham, just like they did with Miles Jack. And they had already had Nakobe Dean in-house, and they were hoping for the best. They were even hoping for the best with a guy like Ben Van Sumeren that everybody was talking about before training camp. Oh, all this raw talent. All right. Well, he's still on the squad. He's still here. Yeah, hopefully you can develop with this guy, but it's all dice rolls. if they had Justin Simmons, that's showing you that they're taking this very, very seriously. And for the Eagles to include the offense in this, for the Eagles to sign a big name, big money running back, can you even call it a flyer? I make the differential. I make the differential to this. A lot of these guys are all right. Well, maybe they got something left in the tank. A lot of these guys are maybes. All right. Again, yesterday with my interview with Bill, I was talking about he was talking about could be's. Devin White is at least a has been, and I don't mean that in the typical derogatory term of that guy's a has been. He's washed. No. A lot of these guys are could be's. Nakobe Dean is a could be. He could be a very good linebacker if he stays healthy, right? A lot of these guys are could be's. Devin White is at least a has been, and I mean that as actually a compliment. He has done it. He has been a second-team All-Pro. He has been an aggressive linebacker. He's been able to get after the quarterback in his career. He has won a Super Bowl, for crying out loud. Now, if Tom Brady doesn't go to Tampa, he doesn't win that Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that he was he wasn't the leader on the team making them make the Super Bowl. But he has had success at the NFL level. Ben Van Sumeren hasn't. Nakobe Dean hasn't. These are all Oren Burks, for instance. We'll see what he could do as a primary edge rusher in this defense. Played more snaps, started to get his defensive snaps up there more so this past season with San Francisco than the special team snaps, for instance, throughout the majority of his career. I'd love to see what he could bring to the table. You look at a guy like Zach Bond, similar guy, special teamer to a guy that really hasn't started, but a guy that has played the edge rusher position. These are dice roll type of moves. These could be good moves for the Philadelphia Eagles. The thing I can say about Devin White is at least he has been a has-been. And I mean that in a positive way. He at least has that experience and has shown you at the NFL level he can have success. And then you look at the safety position. If you mean to tell me that you're actually going to be spending money on two safeties, at least testing it out, seeing how Justin Simmons and CJ would be playing at the last man standing, the last line of defense in the Eagles secondary, I can't wait for the season to start. I don't get me wrong, we'll get into the Phillies in a second, but I'm very much looking forward to the Phillies. I want to see the Flyers, who picked up a point last night. They lost in overtime to the Hurricanes. Come out of that game with a point. Big deal for the Flyers. Love seeing that. Excited to see Joel Embiid come back and all that stuff. But with all the news, the anticipation, ladies and gentlemen, the waiting is now the hardest part. I am beyond excited to see what this Eagles team could do come September, starting out in Brazil. All excited about it. But if they add one more piece, and this isn't even including the draft, maybe Howie has some draft day trade up his sleeve. But you bring in Justin Simmons to the secondary, and I am going next level excitement. Because then that means that Howie has wowed you just as much as he has on offense over the last 3 seasons, to put it like that. Because when you look at this offense, the starters, the 11 guys that are going to be on the field, from the offensive line to the wide receivers, the tight end, and the running back, and the quarterback, not throwing Jalen Hurts. I said yesterday that Howie Roseman has dropped the gauntlet with this offense with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I double dog dare you to fail with all these weapons that I have given you on this offense. And also including Kellen Moore as a weapon, the mastermind that he's going to have to be behind the scenes with this offense. Well, he is every single position with me. We got questions in the interior offensive line. Little question mark with Cam Jurgens, big question mark with Tyler Steen, or just the right guard position in general. Big question, who's going to play that spot? I still think whoever plays that spot's going to be pretty good. Going to be pretty good. But he is wowed us on offense with checking every box. Defensively, assuming James Bradbury's not here, big question mark at one of your starting cornerback positions. You have CJ Gigi, you've answered that question. Reed Blankenship has played well when he's played, had some injury issues last year and the year before. All right, well, a little bit of a question mark. Can he keep that going? And can he be a ball-hawking safety? Can he be a guy that will be able to get after the football? Or do you want to bring in 2 guys that have a history of forcing turnovers in this league? in CD Deuce and Justin Simmons. You answer the big question at the linebacker spot. You're going to have Nakobe Dean. You're going to have Devin White. You're going to have guys coming off the edge. We still want to see what happens with Hassan Reddick. My vote is that he stays here. He ends up restructuring the deal, and he ends up staying here in Philadelphia. But the biggest question mark for me, defensively speaking, has to do with physically who's going to be your starting corner opposite Darius Slay. A couple other little questions I have. You have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. We got into this a lot yesterday, so I'm not going to go as into it. What are they going to be like without Fletcher Cox? Are they going to be able to play at a high level towards the end of the season when that wall seemed to hit them this past year? What's going to happen all that? Milton Williams stepping up into a bigger role defensively. But if Howie can go get a ball-hawking safety or a ball-hawking corner, that to me will answer all the questions or at least wow me the way Howie has wowed me on the offensive side of the football. Because you do look at that offensive side, and over the last couple of years, including getting A.J. Brown, for instance, and now most recently getting Saquon Barkley, these are all solid moves. You're looking at this offseason, you're now looking at it as with now DeAndre Swift with the draft night thing, so we didn't know about that till the draft. But now you're going into it with the already knowing that one of the biggest concerns offensively is like, who's going to be the third wide receiver? You know what I mean? Like last year, we were talking about Quez Watkins. We were talking about Olamide Zaccheaus. Oh, there's going to be a big battle for third wide receiver. Do we not remember years when we were talking about who's going to be the number one wide receiver? Actually, it was worse than that. It was who's going to be the number two wide receiver when you already didn't have a number one wide receiver. Guys were battling for second, and now they're battling for third. All right. Keep it coming, Howie Roseman. So that's where we're at right now as far as this Eagles team goes. And look, I think between Devontae Parker and Parris Campbell, I think one of the things that they have done is at least bring in two guys that if you tell me that they're on the roster next year, if you tell me that you're going into the future and both have a good camp, then good. Then you have your third and fourth wide receivers. Great. But it's all going to be a competition for the spot. These are two good guys that I'd like to see at least competing for that spot. That's where I'm at as far as that wide receiver position goes. Defensively speaking, there's still more work to be done. Still more work to be done. Let's get into this first. Here's where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where you're at. This is, for the people on the podcast, I am showing a picture of the rendering of the sports complex upon completion of phase 2. Look, I love that Xfinity Live went up, so we had a little area. Like one of the things, all right, here's the facts. $2.5 billion makeover of the sports complex area in South Philadelphia. Looking at this photo, you see I-95 to the left. You see the Wells Fargo Center. I believe there in the middle, going down Darien Street, is, I believe, what's going to be a new concert venue. Then the little tiny parking lot for Xfinity Live. There's a lot going on here, people. And then in the bottom right corner, you see the stands at Citizens Bank Park. So essentially, the parking lot outside Citizens Bank Park, where Veterans Stadium stood, was it 20 years ago now? It's more than that. 25 years ago? No, 20 years ago. Is going to be, I think, a hotel, a casino, shops, all that stuff. That's what we're looking at. Now, again, if you're just joining the show, everything that looks like a future rendering looks like it's from 100 years in the future. But this looks pretty cool. I love all this. I love the idea of developing all this. I'm sure that there's people still in South Philly, up 10th Street, that are probably not going to, or up Darien Street to 10th Street, are probably not going to like a lot of this. But unfortunately, I think they'll have enough space where it won't bother them as much. You go up, you're butting up against FDR Park, which I know a lot of people may or may not like. My question is the parking when all this goes down for games now over the next 4 years. where do we all just park at the one little area there at Wells Fargo? We park at the Link. Where does all this go down? Because I don't see a lot of parking available here. I assume one of those buildings is a parking garage. I don't know. But I do like this. One of the things I love, and I got into this conversation a little bit when we started talking about the Sixers moving into downtown, the fashion district. Okay. One of the things I love about when I was traveling a lot, going to different cities for football games, is kind of just seeing their big areas for sports. I know the Capitals in DC are supposed to get a new arena in the not too distant future. Good for them. But I loved it. I love having that downtown arena. They had like a movie theater in there, they had, some shopping areas in there. And also, people have to go into downtown. So they're spending their money around the city for parking, restaurants, meals. I love the idea of having a lot of history in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore and seeing what Camden Yards did for the Inner Harbor. And then M&T Bank Stadium going down there for the Ravens. And then they open a casino. I think it's Horseshoe Casino down there. Like, I love the development that a stadium can bring. But what I really love is just the ultimate, as great a fan experience as you can have. So if you're in a fan, it's in Central Jersey or even North Jersey, and you got to do a considerable amount of driving, I think you're more likely to stay over and continue to spend money in the city. Now, that's not Center City by any means. But one of the things that goes against the idea of the economic development that a stadium can bring to an inner city is the idea of not making new money, but instead just moving money around. I was reading an interesting story on the Sacramento Kings when they built their new stadium. One of the goals and one of the proposals was, this will bring, one of the selling points, I should say, was, this will bring money to Sacramento. And really all it did was move money from one part of Sacramento to another part of Sacramento. That's all it did. So it wasn't a matter of, now we're making all this new money. No, now we're making this money where we used to make it over here. Now we're making it over here. The idea just moved money around. So that's definitely a threat that could happen with the Sixers potentially building their arena, 76th place, in the fashion district of Philadelphia. Now, this is something that I think would be very interesting. The idea of developing the sports complex is just developing Philadelphia. That's the way I look at it. So hold on, you're going to have more shops, more malls, more restaurants. Malls. Yeah, more shops, more restaurants, bars, a concert venue. You're going to have all that in that area? That's great. The other side of it is the Phillies and Comcast Spectacle are going to make a nice little chunk of change off that as well. One of the things I love about if you go to Boston, if you go to Fenway Park, if you go to Wrigleyville, is that you walk around those areas. And you don't just go to the game. You spend your money around it. Well, this would still allow fans, without downtown traffic, the opportunity to spend their money while going to a game and spend it in the city of Philadelphia. If that helps the economic development of the city, if that increases the odds of maybe pumping up security on SEPTA, if that ends up bumping up, motivating is the word I'm looking for, motivating people in Philadelphia's government to maybe increase spending on public safety, then I'm even more for it. The biggest question for me for a downtown arena, like I said, is whether or not Philadelphia, tell me, hey, you get a downtown arena. Great. If I was to move to another city and someone's telling me, you got this, I don't know, some minor league ball club down the street or whatever, I'd be like, downtown arena? Great. Downtown ballpark? Great. The next thing, I wouldn't even be thinking about public safety. But in Philadelphia, we got to think about these things. We got to think about public transit. One of the things that sticks out in a lot of people's minds, man, especially people that might only make it down to a game, once or twice a year. One of the things that really sticks out in these people's minds, and you can say, this is 2.5 million people, so it's a little different. But Mayor Nutter's saying use public transportation and then public transportation not being ready. Now, that might be unfair to say all of a sudden you had 2 million people that wanted to come into Philadelphia all at the same time. Well, yeah, that could be a problem. But that still sticks out in people's minds. Instead of driving into the city, take public transit. People don't feel great about that right now. This would be a thing with the Phillies and Comcast Spectacor building up the arenas, building up the sports complexes that could really scratch everybody's itch when it comes to overall development around the sports complex, overall economic development for the city of Philadelphia, and also just a better fan experience. Now, families aren't just going to have to choose, what place in Xfinity Live are we going to go? No, there'll be multiple options. All spending in the same area, all spending in Philadelphia. I'll take that. I like the idea, so I'm all for it. As far as the Phillies baseball team, Johan Rojas has had some struggles this spring. We touched on it a little bit yesterday, and it hasn't gotten a lot better, but there was a small glimmer of hope yesterday as the Phillies are winding down spring training. This time, there we go. Nice to see you. But yesterday, the Phillies were in action, and Johan Rojas was, like I said, not doing great. Steps up to the plate in yesterday's game and delivers an RBI single up the middle. Look, I don't try to make anything of spring training other than these are guys working on things. These are guys working on getting back into shape. These are guys working on seeing pitches. These are guys as pitchers that are working on pitches. This is nothing that really blows me away, makes me go, this is going to be a great season for whoever. But Johan Rojas yesterday, with his single, improved his batting average to 167 and his on-base percentage of 184 on the spring. He's 8 for 48 in the spring. The initial story of Johan Rojas was that when he got to spring training, he was looking kind of swole. He was looking like he was ready to take on 162 games playing in center field for the Phillies. I had even mentioned when Dave Dombrowski addressed the media before the season that he wasn't just giving Johan Rojas the spot in center field. It wasn't just going to be handing that over to him. He's going to have to earn it. Well, Whit Merrifield gets here. Whit Merrifield can play anywhere in the outfield. He can play second base, right? This is a problem with Brandon Marsh looking as healthy as he has been in spring training. Because now there's an opportunity here with the Phillies. They might decide to have Kyle Schwarber as the DH. They might decide to have Whit Merrifield in left field. They might have Brandon Marsh starting out in center field. And then Nick Castellanos in right. Bryce Harper, depending on how his back is feeling, might take that DH spot with Schwarber staying in left. But Merrifield, I don't know, goes over and plays first. I don't know. Dome. A lot of opportunities out there. A lot of decisions to still be made. But if Johan Rojas isn't hitting, and if Johan Rojas isn't ready, and to take at least a little bit of a step forward from last year, then that's going to be a little bit of a problem. A disappointing spring, I'll say that. I don't need him to be Mickey Moniak hitting 400 in spring training to make me, maybe the Phillies have their center fielder. No, I know what he can do defensively. That isn't going anywhere. But whatever is going on between his ears right now in the batter's box seems to be a bit of a problem. Am I concerned? The only reason it's on my radar is because it's been so bad. And the Phillies are looking at him to be a starting center fielder for the foreseeable future. They're looking to have in left field and center field, and surprisingly enough, in right field also, with Nick Castellanos, a pretty damn good outfield defensively. Between Marsh in left and Rojas in center field, that ball ain't dropping. And then shockingly, ever since the playoffs of a calendar year ago, Nick Castellanos has looked like a gold glover in right field. Nick Castellanos is one of the, defensively speaking, is one of the most not talked about stories. This guy has taken a huge jump as a defensive player in right field. Huge jump. I used to be terrified of a fly ball going in his direction. Now I'm like, Nick's got it, So that's a pretty good outfield right there. But if Johan Rojas ain't hitting, even with this lineup that is supposed to mash, then he ain't going to be playing. he ain't going to be playing. So seeing him at least get that RBI single yesterday, look, as optimistic as you could be after one RBI single, good for him. Overall, Merrifield, by the way, just some other numbers here with the Phillies in spring training. Whit Merrifield with the Phillies is hitting 371 in the spring. Now, this is where we get overly excited. Cody Clemens was in the DH spot yesterday. He's hitting 382. And Jordan Luplow, who just got here. Now, if you remember, there's a little bit of a history there with Jordan Luplow and Yohan Rojas. Yohan Rojas hit the home run off Luplow last year when Luplow was pitching as a position player. Rojas even apologized. Hey, my bad. But that's where we're at, folks. That's where we're at. Phillies, a week from yesterday, start the season in South Philly. Can't wait for it. Very much excited. Now, the big story in baseball. I said yesterday that there's going to be more to this story. The latest is, so they had that meeting, as I talked about yesterday. The Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, Mitsuhara, got up and admitted to having a gambling problem. The interpreter, Mitsuhara, got up and said, I have a gambling problem, basically. Okay. Thought that was weird. And then, according to ESPN, investigative reporting, after that meeting ended between the front office of the Dodgers, the clubhouse, Ohtani, and the interpreter, Mitsuhara, they had other meetings where Shohei Ohtani started to kind of piece together what was going on. Why this took so long, I don't know. But that's when the Dodgers brought in another interpreter to tell Ohtani what was what. Apparently, everybody knew that Mitsuhara had a gambling issue. Not like a problem, but that he liked to gamble. I think at this point, we all know someone who likes to gamble. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just something that they like to do, and they do it responsibly. They bet with their head and not over it. You know, like $4.5 million. I don't know anyone, at least admittedly, that has a $4.5 million gambling problem, okay? So they start to explain it to Ohtani. Ohtani then kind of puts some things together in his head and goes, oh, that's how I'm missing money. All right? I find this whole thing to be really, really shady. Now, at some point, Ohtani is going to talk about this. He hasn't talked about it yet. Reporters tried to go up to him in Korea when they opened the season and all that stuff, and no one talked to him. But there'll be more from him. There'll be something from him in all this. The more I read about this, I agree with Kyle Brandt had a tweet yesterday. Former NFL front office executive. He just said, the more I see people shouting that it's not Ohtani, that Ohtani had nothing to do with it, the more I believe Ohtani had something to do with it. The idea of $4.5 million being transferred out of Ohtani's account, the more I just think it's weird. The interpreter is getting access to Ohtani's account. The interpreter is doing it with a sports book that's already under investigation. That this just seems really, really weird to me. It came out that the games weren't being bet, it wasn't being bet on baseball. All right. Now, from what I understand, the Dodgers reporter yesterday was talking about how this would be a finable offense if everything is, even in the speculation, in the sheer speculation, if Shohei Ohtani was proven to be a part of the betting, it's a fine. If he's not betting on baseball, it's a fine. It's not Pete Rose, as some people have jumped to. But it's a slippery slope. This is why I don't have an issue with the NFL suspending players for a full season if it's shown that they have bet. Even if it's somebody else making the bet for them. It's still the player making the decision on what to bet. Because the most dangerous thing in sports, as much as it's been wonderful, talk about economic development, the economic boom that sports betting has provided every single sport, advertising dollars especially, as great as that has been for the business of sports, it's also very dangerous. Now, you might say it's wildly hypocritical for MLB to accept money from X sportsbook, but then punish players that gamble, or it's insane that the NFL, even in the days before sports gambling was so kosher, to really punish players for being involved in betting, and they accept money here, but they suspend the player here. One thing to say, hell yeah, they do. The league has to, because the only thing that really threatens sports is whether or not people watching think it's legitimate. That's it. We're all under the impression that this is real. It's not scripted, no matter how many conspiracy theorists want to jump out there with the NFL and how it's scripted and all that stuff. The minute people watch sports and go, this isn't real, is the minute people really do start to check out. And the only thing that might actually keep them involved is fantasy football. Even more so than gambling, because gambling, people don't want to bet things that they feel are illegitimate, are pre-decided. That's the real threat to sports. There are more horrible things that happen in the world of just being humane, like a good person. Those things are not threatening the sport. What's threatening the sport is the idea of somebody thinking it's illegitimate. That's why NFL players get suspended a full year if it's found that they gambled. That's the bigger story, and that's the bigger threat to the NFL. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's the way it is. So people say, oh, it's hypocritical. No, it's not. It's not hypocritical for me to take their money and then tell my players that they can't do it. The players have a different responsibility than the fans watching the game. Fans watching the game can do whatever they want. The players playing the game, they can't. Because if they're found guilty of betting on their own sport, which is the slippery slope that the NFL is hoping to avoid, well, then people start thinking everything's illegitimate. As I said yesterday, you even look at sports before gambling became so prominent. Oh, this game's fixed. That ref's bought. That player's shaving points. It's a dangerous thing, man. So if Ohtani is truly pulled into this and it's proven that he had something to do with it, and the investigation's ongoing and nothing has come out so far to say that, oh, yeah, he is linked to it. This is all apparently, according to Shohei Ohtani's camp, a, quote, massive theft, meaning he had no authorization of it. He had no knowledge of it. Originally it was, oh, he felt bad for his interpreter. Here's money. And now it's, oh, no, it's a massive theft. So it seems a little interesting that the story's changing a little bit here. But the MLB, I'm sure, will do its due diligence. And I know a lot of people are going to have questions for Shohei Ohtani. When he addresses the media about it with his new interpreter, I'm very curious to see what gets said. Also, something interesting here. When I was listening to the ESPN investigative reporter, she had said yesterday that Ohtani doesn't speak English. He might know a couple words. But then she learned from people close to him that he's starting to put a little bit more together than people have been giving him credit for. And I'm like, does he speak English or not? And I'm not saying he absolutely has to speak English. But I'm saying, how is this how are we confused over this? So now the water's getting murky here. Like, how much does he really know? I would think by now it's been explained to him if he didn't know it already. So just that, like, things getting lost in translation. All right, so are we now delaying? Does he know more than he's leading on? What's going on? The interesting thing. I'll put it to you like this. The one thing that goes into Ohtani's favor about not saying anything, if you don't have to be bilingual to understand this, but if you even know like a couple words in another language, and then someone starts talking to you about legalities, I would shut the hell up too. Because I don't want to say the wrong thing to something I really don't understand. I'm going to need this to really be broken down before I comment on it. So that's one thing I will say. It's not as suspicious as some people might make it out to be that he hasn't spoken yet. That's just one thing right there. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Want to go to a game in 2028 at the new sports complexes? Or how about tonight? How about tomorrow? You can do it all on the Game Time app. Want to go to the event? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the big game? Game Time app is where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy on the Game Time app and enjoy all they have to offer. For instance, you want to bet, or you want to look at the NHL? You want to look at 76ers? You can do it all in the Game Time app. Download the event to your phone, or download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy and get $20 off your first purchase. That's right, $20 off your first purchase when you use promo code Farzy. And how about this? All-in pricing, so that when you do go to check out with your tickets, you don't go, oh, my goodness, great, it's $50 in service fees. What's going on? No, all-in pricing. So there's no surprise deal, ticket shock at the end of it. Also, the Game Time guarantee. That means if you find tickets in the same section or row for less money elsewhere, Game Time will get you back at 110% of the difference. That's the Game Time guarantee, folks. So download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy. You get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Before I get into the chat check, I wanted to mention something on Parris Campbell. Let me just peruse this real quick. Make sure. Nobody had this in the chat. There we go. Yeah. All right. So just a little bit of a history lesson here for people who haven't thought about this. Going back to Parris Campbell. He was drafted in 2019. And I saw Jeff McClain of the Inquirer yesterday tweet out that Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas were all in on Parris Campbell. They really liked Parris Campbell. They were going to really set to draft Parris Campbell in the second round of 2019. Well, they didn't. Here's what went down in 2019. Andre Dillard was taken with the 22nd overall pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles had 3 picks in the first 2 rounds. With the 53rd overall pick, do you remember who the Eagles took in 2019 with the 53rd overall pick in the second round of the draft there? You know who they took? Miles Sanders. I would say it worked out. You know who they took then with the 57th overall pick? Oh, excuse me, 53rd overall pick. No, what the hell am I saying? No, 57. Jeez. Miles Sanders was 53. With the 57th overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select J.J. Arcega-Whiteside out of Stanford. Then 2 picks later, Parris Campbell was taken at 59. And then, yes, just to put a bow on it, with the 64th overall pick, DK Metcalf was selected by the Seattle Seahawks. Revisionist history. It's fun to look back on it, but apparently they weren't sold enough if they had 2 selections before them and they took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over Parris Campbell. Holy pots and pans, ladies and gentlemen. Holy pots and pans. Let's get into the chat check. What's up, Jason? Sean Gillespie, what's going on? IBH, what's popping? Sean Kilrain, what's going on? Jason A, what's popping? Abe Link, definitely a camp body. Hopefully they address a true wide receiver 3 in the draft. Abe Link, great name. I'm hoping the same thing. Sean, absolutely. Campbell had tons of potential coming out of Ohio State in 2019. Second round pick, hasn't been able to take his game to the next level. Yeah, I mentioned the 12 games before with Parris Campbell. That he played with the Giants last year. Also, worth noting, Parris Campbell, 2 R's in Paris. Just for funsies, people. Okay, yeah. So 2022, we wouldn't like Parris Campbell if he was a Philadelphia Eagles draft pick, okay? Played in 7 games his rookie year. 2 the following, 6 after that in 2021. Played 17 games in 2022 and just 12 in 2023 last season. His highest, the most catches he's ever had in a season was 63, rightfully so, in the season he played every game in 2022. Career high in yards for a season, 623. That's the only year he had more than 165 yards in a single season. He scored 5 touchdowns in 5 years in the NFL. So not great. Not great. Sean says, Sean Kilrain, hopefully in Philly he can stay healthy and develop, contribute both special teams and offense. Bring it. Wine Niners wine. Good morning, Farzy and friends. Good morning, April. Good morning, April. Hutch, great point. Now being in the second wave of free agency, Justin Simmons' number can't be over 10 million. What do you think? What was reported last week? It was reported last week. What do you think? What do you think the number is for the Eagles? 10 million. I would say 8.5 to 10. I think that would be the deal. 8.5 to 10 for Justin Simmons. Oh. Isaiah Rodgers projects better inside, but played outside in Indianapolis due to the presence of Kenny Moore. So get that slot corner. Oh, Isaiah Rodgers, yeah. Are you saying for their next move, Sean? If you're saying for their next move, get a slot corner. I feel like the Eagles... I feel like the next move the Eagles make to add a cornerback, specifically a cornerback, is going to be in the draft. I think they're done adding pieces that are free agents. So I think we're going to have to wait for that. But I think that's the Eagles' strategy. That's my prediction. Hutch, Tyler Boyd would be a great number 3, but probably too expensive. Again, we're in that second wave. You're right. He probably would be too expensive. I would love to see Tyler Boyd here. I love Tyler Boyd. The other thing I like about Tyler Boyd is that he's got experience, 2 years now, being the third man in. He played behind T. Higgins, plays behind Jamar Chase. He's used to being that third guy, but he's got enough talent that if somebody goes down, he could be a solid number 2. Okay. I could be a solid number 3. He is a solid number 3. He could be a good number 2. All right? If in an offense where you don't have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, he can step up and be that number 2 guy. So I love the idea of Tyler Boyd. Oh, they put in a putt in Philly? That's great. Ooh, Jason A. I didn't even think about this. Parking and tailgating. Ooh, already bad. Where do you tailgate? We're only going to allow a Prius. Only Prius drivers in this parking lot will provide the tailgating with you spending your money in our arenas. It is crazy to me, man, how a city just shoots up around the stadium. That is so awesome. I love that. In the rare occasion, like I used to, when I was traveling a lot, I would drive by Lincoln Financial Field a lot on game days because I was going to the airport. And for 1:00 games, if I had an early flight out, I'd be driving by the parking lot. They're already full. And I'd look down and it'd be like a city just sprung up. It used to be a parking lot. Now it's a whole society. I loved that. Love that. There you go. Putt-putt's always a fun evening out with the kids. That's true. Fujadamas. More law enforcement back in the street. You're going to need it. Families and tourists feeling safe to the fullest. I got to be honest, man. I feel so bad. I feel terrible, actually. When if I meet somebody from out of town, they're like, I was in Philly and this happened. I'm like, oh, sorry. And then I feel great at the same time when I've met I've met more people that have told me about what a great time they had in Philadelphia than I had people telling me, this happened. Like, okay, well, sometimes it's like, sorry, you're in a major city where stuff happens. Ooh. Dynasty 215. I think that's why I slotted that money 10 years down the line. Ohtani? What, so his interpreter couldn't get it? Hey, look, if we're gonna do this deal, All right. I'm going to hope my interpreter retires before I do. So take that money that you're going to give me and just defer it for a decade because I don't want him to get his grimy hands on it. Ohtani's guy hanging with Pete Rose. I am going to hold off on the Pete Rose allegations for Ohtani. That's one thing I'm not going to jump to. But I do enjoy the jokes. I'm here for the jokes, Mike Fuji. Don't you know? Don't you worry. Mia, morning family. Less than 1 week. Let's go, baby. Terry Hayes, good morning. Good morning. Pete Rose, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley. Who cares? They're all human. The government can push legal gambling before it was frowned upon. Fair enough. They say he didn't bet on baseball. Like they say politicians don't do insider trading. It's that's a whole thing. Don't put the quarter in that machine, man. As far as the insider trading goes. But yeah, they say he wasn't betting on baseball. Really? Here's my issue with that. Even growing up in the Pete Rose needs to be in the Hall of Fame era, Pete Rose didn't bet on baseball and all that stuff. He never bet on his own team, If you have a gambling problem, just like you have a game, go 1-800 gambling. If you have a gambling problem, just like any addiction, and that's what we're talking about here, addiction. If you think you could find a way out of it, you're going to do it. You're going to bet on the thing that you know the most about. And that's baseball in this case. So he didn't bet on baseball. Look, there's no evidence that he bet on anything. So I don't even like just throwing his name out there, but it's the biggest name attached to it, and it's his interpreter that's allegedly stole money from him to cover his gambling debt. Allegedly, the original story was that Ohtani just felt bad and paid the money. Now it's a massive theft. Okay. We'll see what comes out. See what is proven true here. But even if you're his interpreter or you're Ohtani, at some point, if you have a gambling problem, there's going to be an emergency where you're going to break glass. And that behind that glass is betting on baseball. So for me, if an interpreter had a problem, and also him not turning into this kind of shady figure, the interpreter, him coming out in the clubhouse being like, it was me. Who does that? That it just does this doesn't add up to me. The interpreter just like, I did it. I was betting. That's bonkers. You're fired. Get out of here. Hey, what happened to Ohtani's old interpreter? Oh, they fired him. He was gambling. Oh, really? This seems really weird. That seems weird. So say their family decides to bet and the player has nothing to do with it. Is that still out of bounds? I don't think that's out of bounds. I don't think the player is anything. And that's another thing. It's a hard time proving. If I tell my mom, let's imagine I'm a professional athlete, which by my physique, you guys really only see my big fat head. I would tell, hey, Mom, bet on this. It might be looked at. It's difficult to prove where the bet's coming from. Listen, Terry Hayes, I'm worried about our defense, man. It doesn't seem like we are going to have defense. Sean Kilrain. Rush Hour. What a trilogy. What a trilogy. Just say Umbrella Boy. Mike Fuji, yeah. Terry, team that can stop the run. Sixers need to win tonight. Sixers Lakers tonight. Did you guys see what happened with the Clippers last night? The Clippers were winning by 21. Who the hell were they playing last night? They're up by 21 in the third quarter, not even the fourth quarter. Kawhi Leonard gets a wide open three. James Harden, who, in case you missed it, is on the Clippers now, just as Kawhi Leonard is. James Harden turns around and defends Kawhi Leonard shooting a wide open three. Puts his hands up to contest it. Defends is a strong word. Semi-contest, he did. And Kawhi misses the three and then turns around like, what the hell are you doing, James? after the game, James Harden was interviewed, and I was like, "What were you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I was just trying to have some fun, basically." And he's like, the reporter, credit to him, he goes, "Well, did you achieve that goal?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think so." And he smiles, and I'm like, "Okay, all right, whatever, that sounds good." Good times. But yeah, Sixers do need to win tonight against Clippers. Is tonight the 10:30 start time? Tonight's the 10:30 start time. The kid Melton in the draft can play slot. There you go. Chad Crawford, morning. Good morning. Can you touch on the Flyers for a minute? I mentioned the Flyers. I said the Flyers played last night. They picked up a big point against the Carolina Hurricanes. That's good. Scott Lawton had another goal last night. Oh, man. Did Owen Tippett score the goal, or was the assist from Morgan Frost last night? I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty awesome. It was either Morgan Frost to Tippett or Tippett scoring the goal. Lawton, Konechny. Oh, no, it was Konechny that scored the goal. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Let me pull it up real quick. Morgan Frost. Yeah, okay. It was Tippett to Frost to Konechny. Third period, Flyers are down 2-1. Scott Lawton scored their previous goal. 10-16 to the third period. Travis Konechny is behind the net. I think they put the shot on net. Shot on goal. Rebound goes to Mofro. Mofro, it looked like behind the legs, drop pass to Travis Konechny, who puts the biscuit in the basket for the game-tying goal. Flyers going to overtime, 128 to overtime. Seth Jarvis scores 3-2. Carolina Hurricanes win. Flyers get the point. Still a much-needed point. They need every single point they could possibly get. They're third in the Metro right now. So keep the points coming, baby. Keep the points coming. Mad respect. Mad respect to the Flyers. They literally said they would take up all the parking spots. Damn it. Oh, why Niners? Why? You and Bill were great yesterday. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Same parking solution as the Sixers and the Convention Center. Car, shove it. Car, shove it. I will say this, though. When you have downtown arenas, downtown venues, one thing that does happen, yes, there's more traffic in the city, obviously. But when it comes to parking, in any major city, there's parking garages all over the place. So the goal would be like if you're at the Fashion District, you could still park in Rittenhouse Square, have dinner, have lunch, have a couple drinks, whatever. Hopefully stay overnight in the city, and then walk to the arena. And then when you get out of when the game's over and you walk to your parking garage, you're a little further away from the distilled traffic. April, can't wait for opening day. Hopefully I could see through it all the pollen. I was dreading that. Chad Crawford, great question. How concerned are you about Taijuan Walker as the number 5 starter? Christopher Sanchez seems to be developing well. Taijuan Walker got shelled 2 days ago. I mean, I am concerned, but if I'm concerned about a 5th starter, this is what I was thinking about. After his start 2 days ago, 5 runs, 7 runs in 2 2/3. After his start 2 days ago, I was going through it and I was like, okay, Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez, Walker, or Walker, Sanchez. And I'm like, all right, Walker and Sanchez, who do I want to be my number 5 starter? And I was like, if I am debating my 5th starter, you got a pretty good rotation. If I'm debating that, then you got a pretty good rotation. If the only big question mark I have right now coming out of spring training, other than bullpen and closer, if the other position player guys is center field and Johan Rojas, I think we're feeling pretty good. Twiz, what's going on? Wine had a decent week. Could have been better. My carport collapsed? No! I love a nice carport, man. Twiz, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, Clef's 2 days ago? Godspeed, my friend. Why Niners? Yeah, I'm having a week. Oh, capped off my. Wait, huh? What? No! Oh. Why Niners wine? 16-year-old dog. Had to put him. Oh. Had to put your dog down. That sucks, man. Wine, I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. We had to do some. We had, my wife's cat Lily. We had to put down a month ago. She's made appearances on the show. She's crawled across the desk. I put it this way. I do like animals. I feel like I can't say I love animals because I don't want to own them. Like other people, like, and that's even maybe a crass way to say it, but like if you have a dog and I'm over your house, I love that dog. Like, oh, I want to hang out with that dog. You know what I mean? They do make me not able to breathe, which is a little bit of a problem. Cats and dogs. That's why I got to pump a Buterol and Symbicort in my face. But like I do love animals. Like I do. I really respect animals. I like animals. I just don't want the responsibility of having animals and health-wise, But man, it sucks. To go through that, and I know they're more my wife's than they are mine, but it sucks, man. Putting down an animal, that's one of those things that, like me, I didn't grow up with any pets. We never had any pets in the Farzetta household. But like it's one of those things that you think you understand. Until you go through it, you don't understand. Like you don't get it. Like, oh my God, it's the worst. We've had to do it twice since my wife and I have been together. We've had to do it twice, and oh my God, it's the worst. I don't even want to go into all the details, but damn, that sucks. Like there are a couple of things that in adulthood, quote unquote, that you go through. Even as a kid, you go through putting down animals. I know a lot of people have, but there's just certain things that you just don't really understand until you go through it. You really don't understand until you go through it. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Wine. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks, man. Hey, let me end on a good note. So I'm using the table saw yesterday. If anyone's done any amount of woodworking, I definitely performed a no yesterday. So I'm cutting a 1x3. I know this is the most interesting story I'll ever tell you. And my cousin-in-law doesn't. He's a contractor and a carpenter. And he's like, oh, hey, come up, use a table saw. I'm building floating shelves to go around my TV. And every once in a while, I like to do little projects like this. And he doesn't use, I forget what it's called, but it's like a hand jig, maybe, that you push the wood through the table saw with. He doesn't use that. And we're only cutting 1x3s, okay? So, like, my fingers, I feel the wind of the blades. I did this. I cut 7 pieces, and I cut them each twice because I'm 45 in the ends of them to make a box essentially. And I was like, "Do you have a better way of doing this?" Especially for someone like me who's never done this. He's like, "Oh, you're fine." Anyway, I'll have to send you guys the finished product when I'm done cutting, gluing, nailing, staining, mounting, all that fun stuff. Just little projects around the house. Twiz, they don't call a man's best friend for them. Yeah. Oh, sweet Lord. All right, this is graphic, but I like it. Spurger King. You can put out a cigar on my skin and I won't cry, but when an elderly dog or cat dies, I'll bawl like a baby. I'm with you. Oh, why not? Why my pup rescued me in 2010. She was 2 to 3 years old. She was and is my first dog. Grew up with dogs, but when it's your first, break my heart. Break my heart. Hey, on that note, have a great weekend, everybody. No, let me get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Sixers back on the hardwood tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Don't want to miss that one. 10:30 tip-off. So a lot of you are probably going to miss it against the Lakers tonight in Los Angeles as they continue this 4-game road trip on the West Coast, of course. LA tonight and Sunday afternoon. Tonight, 10:30 start time. Positive. Mark and Bill are awesome. Oh, no, April. Sorry. This comment thread is destroying my makeup before work. All right. Lakers 10:30 tonight for the Sixers. 3:30 against James Harden and the Clippers on Sunday. And then they wrap up the West Coast trip Monday at 10 o'clock in Sacramento. So that's the way that goes down. As for your Flyers, they're back at it tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock against the Bruins in South Philadelphia. 2 games at the Wells Fargo Center tomorrow. One, the Bruins, and then the Philadelphia Wings face off at 7 o'clock. Yours truly will be on hand. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are awesome as per usual. Have a great weekend, everybody. If any more news breaks, maybe we'll get a special Farsi show over the weekend. Wait, hold on. Ari, our listener in St. Louis. Last thing, public service announcement. He's got a radio friend out there, a radio DJ he listens to that wants Philly recommendations. Ari, here's what I got for you. I'll try to tweet this to you later if I remember. Oscars, if you're into dive bars, on 17th and Samson. 16th and Samson. Oscars, they have PBR on tap. That's all you got to know. And Johnny Cash on the jukebox. Grand Cafe L'Aquila, Center City, Philadelphia, is my favorite restaurant in Center City. Fully Italian place. Not Italian-American. This isn't spaghetti and meatballs. This is Italian. Most of the staff, the 2 main bartenders are from the same part of Italy my grandparents are from. Marco and Luciano. So Grand Cafe L'Aquila for dinner. And then overall nightlife, I don't know. I've been a father for the last 4 or 5 years, so I don't know anything about the nightlife. Other than Oscars is a great dive bar. There you go. Oscars, Grand Cafe L'Aquila. That's a good night. It's 2 totally different atmospheres, but it's a great night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farsi Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Be back with you guys on Monday. See you then.